Hello, my YouTube family. This is the OG Crypto News Chat coming at you with some juicy news. But before I begin, let me say I'm not a financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Remember to do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making investment decisions. Taking a look at the total, it is 1.24 trillion and it's up 0.1%. Coming in at number one is Bitcoin at 29,972. Coming in at number two is Ethereum, 1,881. And our beloved XRP is coming in at number four at 73 cents. Taking a look at crypto bubbles, it looks like RPL is the top gainer at 3.4%. And XTC is the biggest loser, down 10.2%. Taking a look at the Fear and Greed Index, is coming in neutral at 54. Shout out to James K. Phelan, who put this tweet out. In the SEC versus Terraform Labs Do Kwon case, the SEC has filed a pleading discussing Judge Torres' decision in the SEC versus Ripple case, in which it states that SEC staff is considering the various available avenues for further review and intends to recommend that the SEC seek such review. Pleading below, SEC says XRP ruling was wrong, signals it will appeal. Okay, moving on to Brad Garlinghouse. He writes, an important topic has come up about protecting retail. The SEC created this mess by proclaiming it was the cop on the crypto beat when it had no legal jurisdiction. Where is that guiding us? Consumers left holding the bag in bankruptcy court while the SEC holds press conferences. It's absurd to blame a judge for faithfully applying the law. We all know legislation, not more regulation by enforcement, is the only way forward to provide clear rules and protect retail. Glad to see more members of Congress like Rep. Richie Torres and Rep. Patrick McHenry champion this. Exactly. Okay, moving on to Stuart Alderati. He states, a securities agency only has jurisdiction over securities. No security, no role for the SEC. Pretending to have jurisdiction where there is none is simply a political power play. It helps no one and it hurts everyone. 100% agree with that. And here we have Jeremy Hogan. Heading into settlement conference, an appeal is really the only ammunition the SEC has against Ripple. Of course, it says it will appeal. I don't think you can read too much into that statement one way or another. Okay, moving on from there, Fred Rispoli states, SEC staff is considering the various available avenues for further review. Translation, we really took it hard in the you-know-what, Your Honor, in that Ripple case, but we are going to appeal and win. And when that happens in 2 to 3 years, we'll be back letting you know. We'll let you know so hard in 2 or 3 years, Your Honor's head will spin. Exactly. Okay, here we have John Dean. He writes, Judge Torres did exactly her job and applied a 1946 test to modern-day blockchain technology. Some people don't like the result and call it perverse or backwards. Maybe that's what happens when applying a 76-year-old test to modern-day tech. AI next, the SEC is doing. This is the SEC is doing. And sticking with John Dean, he writes, sorry, but this slight criticism of the judge selecting the words is completely misplaced. Read the complaint filed by the SEC and the motion for summary judgment. The SEC called the sales institutional sales, programmatic market sales, and other distributions. The judge accordingly used the precise language chosen by the SEC to prosecute the case. And let me play this video so you can see what he's referring to.
I think it's, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but I think it's unfortunate that the judge here chose the specific labels of institutional purchases and programmatic purchases, or institutional sales and programmatic sales, to refer to these two categories. She could have picked any label in the world. Yeah. But she chose those two labels, and I think that has caused some confusion because people think, well, if it's about who you are, what your position is in the world. Oh, so if I'm an institutional, buyer, then I have certain protections from the SEC. But if I'm a mere retail buyer, like a mom and pop, then I don't have these protections.
Sounds like a classic inversion of the public policy rationale for securities law, which is to protect mom and pop and say that the hedge fund can go do what it wants because it's a sophisticated investor.
What is this SDNY judge thinking, right? Like, of course, she understands what the public policy of the securities laws are.
And no such inversion exists here because it's not about the buyer. It's not about being an institutional buyer versus being just a buyer on an exchange through the quote unquote programmatic sales. It's about the intent of the seller and what they put the buyer on notice of by their manner of sale. We can't go into the world and know what's in the head of everybody who buys corn at the grocery store. We can know that sometimes somebody stands in front of the grocery store and says, yeah, you could buy corn in there, or you could come over here and look, I've got this cornfield. I'll give you a huge discount on the future of all this corn. You're going to pay me up front. Like, then it starts to become a securities offering because now I've got all these additional promises about what I'm going to do with my cornfield. It's about what that person puts into the mind of the buyer. And so not to pick Judge Torres's choice. It's just her choice of word. We agree with the holding, but the labels are confusing because it really should have been about manner of sale to institutional buyers. It really should have been about an investment contract, a commodity plus other promises, versus manner of sale to the programmatic buyers, which is just selling a commodity with no other warranties to those buyers. In fact, not even knowledge of who those buyers might be, in which case we can't say that you're putting those people on notice of your efforts.
Okay, some people just don't get it. Stuart Alvarado, talking to someone who still doesn't understand that the token itself is not the security, is like explaining to a flat earther that the world is round. 100% agree with those words. And this is the Wolf of Wall Street. He put out Ripple 1 for at least the next 2 years, appeal and decision, and likely forever. XRP is not a security, and neither are most altcoins by the same rationale. Have fun staying a trader. And you know what? BTC Maxi / Ripple's XRP haters, they just don't get it. They just cannot concede the fact that there is a better digital asset besides Bitcoin. And it's a shame because it's as clear as day to anyone else with half a brain to see BTC is way too expensive and way too slow compared to XRP. And well, hopefully one day they'll get it. At least this person, he seems to be the more reasonable kind. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Mr. Huber. Banks, American banks are now required to hold reserves. Sounds to me like a strategy to get as much foreign exchange into American hands as possible before the demise of their money printing monopoly. And he is responding to this tweet from Crypto T, where they put out, U.S. banks have a zero reserve requirement since 2020. If John deposits 100K, his bank can loan all of it to Sarah. So now John has 100K in his bank and Sarah has 100K in hers. 100K was just created out of nothing. And if John and Sarah go to the bank to take out the 100K in cash, that requires it and makes it a bank run because there isn't enough money to give them both the 100K. And this is how the banks have been doing business for over a century. And I don't know how it lasted this long. This is a Ponzi-nomics. It's a legal Ponzi scheme that has been going on for over a century, if not 2 centuries. It's been at least 1 century. And that is all going to come to an end with the blockchain technology, Web3. And I can't wait for this to happen because, I mean, you just can't make up money out of thin air and keep doing that over and over again, expect the system not to crash under its own weight. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Chat Steingraber, who put out kind of jealous a bit about how open publicly Japan is with the adopting of XRP. And this is 100% true statement. I agree with that. And Yoshi Takakatao, who is SBI's, I believe, CEO, he stated publicly that all the banks in Japan by 2025 will be using XRP. And we're just a year and a half away from 2025. We're in July of 2023. So that is good to see. And the same comment, we have shout out to Crypto Airy. Several major crypto asset blockchain companies hold workshops in Japan for the first time this week. We got WebEx Workshop, Polkadot, Bloomberg, Sui, iStar, Aptos, Hashkey, Cointelegraph, Flare Labs, Tech Limited, Hyper, Ledger, Solana, and of course we have Ripple. Emi Yoshikawa put out, Ripple is proud to be sponsoring the upcoming WebEx Asia organized by CoinPost, taking place on July 25th to the 26th at Tokyo International Forum in Japan. If you're attending, be sure to stop by booth D14, join Ripple at WebEx, and that is good to see. Raul Advani, he writes, with good progress being made with their license in Singapore, Ripple is more motivated than ever to pursue our vision of revolutionizing cross-border payments and developing tokenization solutions to solve real-world problems. And I tell you, Ripple is not stopping. They're continuing ahead. Okay, here we have a tweet from Shannon Thorpe. She put out this very good and long thread. I'm just going to read the first 2 paragraphs. And she writes, let's talk XRP. A few of you have asked about price prediction, timeframes, etc. While no one can predict price, I will say, and I think we all know this, the price of XRP cannot be cheap. What's more, retail will be priced out of XRP at some point. I see a lot of nonsense online regarding the price is going to jump and then crash because everyone is going to sell. While that may be your theory, here's mine. Retail only makes up about 1% of the XRP space. By the time the Fed banks, businesses, etc., start putting their money into it, that 1% of retail is going to look like a minnow in an ocean. That 1% will not fluctuate the price at all. A large quantity of XRP facilities, a large quantity of banks, while high price allows for higher transaction with less SRP. There's only so much XRP, and that is my opinion. She goes on to make a very good thread. If you want to read it all, you can look her up and read the entire thread for yourself. Okay, moving on. We have Cypress Demanicore. He put out this video. He writes, boom, listen close. Banks still see meaning in the technology, and they are using this crypto winter to stall Ripple, acquired Metrico, and they spilled the beans. We've always said the private sector caught the banks off guard, and now they're playing catch up. Let me play this video.
So, but in the U.S., what is the situation in the U.S.? Is there lack of clarity and concern about the asset class? Has it changed the way banks are looking at investing in this space, or how are their plans in the face of this ambiguity and basically the increasing regulatory concern?
You've seen some bank CEOs, some large bank CEOs very publicly say, we still believe the technology is really going to provide meaningful benefits. I mean, there's been a debate, there's been some papers and things debating what's truly the utility. I think you would probably agree with this, is that digital assets and distributed ledger technology are really good at things. It's not everything. There are other technologies that, if you look at an end-to-end process, that you would deploy, but there are real benefits in reducing and trusting information, so reducing the number of people who have to validate information, digitizing assets that don't have a lot of liquidity. There's a lot of, real utility. And I think you've seen some people in large banks say, yeah, here's the use cases, here's the benefits, here's why we still believe in it. So I think for those institutions, regardless of it's not necessarily maybe the best regulatory climate, maybe they view it as an opportunity as well, because they can actually catch up to maybe non-banks were a little bit ahead of them in development, but maybe a trusted pair of hands is what's needed also.
Exactly. Very good to hear. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Eleanor Torres. She writes, Twitter will rebrand its logo to an X. So will we all be Xing at each other now? Well, if that does happen, that will be a true statement. And this is what she's referring to. We have Elon Musk himself. He tweeted this out, this little 3-second video, nothing but X. And then the next tweet, he writes, not sure what the subtle clues gave it away, but I like the letter X. And he put this thing out. So Twitter could be rebranding in the very near future. And we're going to end it here with Mario Nofal. He writes, breaking, more ways to make money on Twitter. Remember the tens of thousands of dollars creators made weeks ago? Well, the program is opening up to everyone. All eligible Twitter users will be readily be able to participate in the program, and payouts will be retrospective from February 2023. Eligibility criteria. Users must either have a Twitter Blue or be a verified organization. Users must have at least 15 million impressions on posts within the last 3 months. Users must have a Stripe account that can connect it to their Twitter account for transaction processing. Content creators will also receive additional payouts of ad revenue for profile visits. And before you stop popping the champagne bottles, expect even more ways for creators to monetize their content. Twitter plans to introduce monetization for videos, which Elon Musk hinted will be 10% more than YouTube, and monetizing spaces is coming soon. Well, that is all good to see, and I can't wait for all the technology and everyone improving, including Twitter and the crypto space. Well, okay, fam, that is going to do it for today's video. If you found this video to be helpful, would you please smash the like and subscribe? I would really appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you much in advance. And the words of Snoop Dogg, keep your mind on your money on your mind. Peace out, fam.